The food system has been corrupted and hijacked. From the misinformation of what it means to be healthy, to the poisoning of our food, water, and soil, to the endless additives, chemicals, and industrial processing, and just the overall toxins of modern living. We have turned nourishment into convenience, and marketing has replaced wisdom. The result? A world full of food, but starving of real nutrition. A world full of sickness, but no one trying to fix the root of the issue. Digestion is one of the largest energy expense in the body. The body is performing a miracle of turning different material into more of itself. I mean, this process is so widely looked over and misunderstood. We are taking these substances that our body are breaking down so intensely where the genetic codes of both systems are communicating and starting to create more cells in which what we call our bodies. And while we have some science that tries to explain the chemistry behind this all, this is barely scratching the surface to what the biology is actually doing. And yet in the modern world, most people think that it is the food they consume that will give them the energy. Yet, we'll eat a meal and start to get sleepy immediately. Furthermore, we are so conditioned in overconsumption, especially in America, that we continue to mess up the body through digestion. Not only by just the amount of food we eat, but foods with no nutrition and pure toxic, keeping the body sending these hunger signals since the nutrition the body wants has not been met. This is keeping people in a negative feedback loop, not only pushing them into more disease, but also funding the system in which got you into the casino rat race of chemical bullshit designed perfectly to get you on an addictive high equivalent to the substances like cocaine. This crazy feedback loop is not just a physical chemistry eruption, but can be traced back to all aspects of being, such as the mental, emotional, energetic, and karmic bodies. As the person who believes that they are the body and the mind, who are easily persuaded by the temptations of the cunning trickster in the head. As the body sends signals to the brain that it's time to eat, it is the untrained mind that sees the red glowing signs of fast food who gravitates like a moth to the flame or a cartoon character floating unconsciously towards the smell of a pie. So stuck in unawareness, the gift of free will cannot be utilized. And so, hijacked by the collective ego who found a way to weaponize the technologies of the body through chemistry, these people continue to suffer and become so desensitized to all aspects of the world that when rational, logical thinking of everything is connected is brought face to face to these people, they are faced with the chemical eruption of the internal state and can only see the dried lava of insanity calcifying the mind's eye. As if we just look one layer deep into the physical layer of the body, we can see that the digestive system is what really is running the chemical production that helps the brain with the processes it's meant to be dealt. So if you continuously feed it poisonous foods that is so far separated from the natural way of life, then how do you think your mind will think? Of course, this metaphysical principle of as above, so below will stay true. And so the poisoned body will coincide with a poisoned mind. So separated from natural law that someone who can see the interconnectedness of nature throughout all systems look like the perfect mirror for the insanity that is internally happening. Drunk off the buffet of poison, the mind feels quieter as the energy of the body must focus on the intense processing and filtration of digestion to keep you alive, fighting against not only just the different genetic codes, but now modified genetic codes as well as additives. Straight from the genius mind of the devil on the shoulder who believes in the illusionary concept of separation. Modern science has started to catch up to the idea of the benefits of fasting, showing how efficient the body can be and heal once you've stopped forcing it to be in the destructive mode of breaking down foods and poisons. As the common diet is just adding more fuel to this digestive fire, and so the fire rages on inside the body in so much heat that it's burning the body down. And It is only until the volcano finally erupts do we care to pay attention, claiming that we are sick, even though the system worked perfectly. And so as this volcanic fire continues to burn the system from inside out, the modern world, in its wisdom of separation, has decided that we should put a giant band-aid over this volcano, placing people in numbing situations that tricks the mind and body into going back into ignorance, keeping you into another cycle of suffering, spiraling you downward into illness until you become so isolated from the body you are a walking, talking zombie, unaware of the burnout in the body. And so, as these zombies continue to chase external validation to fix the internal issue, bloodlusted on the delectable brainwashing of numbness, delusion, and death. Was it the untrained mind or the negative food that began this downward spiral into the life of suffering? Well, if you are wondering this, you're asking the wrong question. Still caught up in the same endless cycle of suffering, you must go beyond and see that it is beyond those things. Is it the energetics of my energy body being off balance that just made me eat and think these ways? Is it just my predetermined karma that needs to play out? But even those are still egotistical illusions, trying to pawn off your responsibility, your action, onto some force outside of yourself. A blasphemous statement of separation, thinking that another power exists. This does not mean these aspects of the body do not exist, but you are merely using excuses to make you feel better about suffering, as this is the cunning tool of the sharp intellect trying to learn what it means to be self-aware. And so to escape out of this endless seed oil spill inside the most beautiful chemistry factory we call our body and mind, we must learn to embody natural law. And so we must look at the digestion process carefully to discover what the intelligence in every cell is truly communicating, by losing the filter of the thinking mind, who is currently in mental diarrhea from the lack mentality through guzzling down poison and spiking hormones with the modern world's toxicity. Digestion itself starts before you even consume the food. As you can clearly see, once you think about eating, your body has already started the process of moving, producing, and changing chemicals around to prepare. Then we have the external sense that can begin the process of digestion. As we look at the food, we can clearly feel how it would feel in our gut and what it would taste like. Just the smell of food, you can feel the brain react to the vibrational communication in the air. And so it is also our sense of touch, especially with our incredible energetic and sensitive hands, that begins the digestion, allowing the body to communicate the genetic codes of the food in the body, as well as the other bacteria, viruses, and life forms we carry on our hands. Now imagine this same level of awareness and intelligence of communication that is being skipped as we no longer are even planting the foods and having a relationship to the growth cycle. But in the modern world, we do not even cook for ourselves, as the modern world has chose convenience over true intelligence, and so we have no connection to the food systems. Already we should have so much communication between the food we are about to eat before it even enters the mouth. But as soon as it enters the mouth, the stressed and rushed society, stuck in the sympathetic nervous system of fight or flight, engulfs the food like the baby of a vacuum cleaner and a pelican, giving no time for the digestive enzymes of the microbiome of the mouth to take over. As this rush to consume more and more, people do not even realize how intelligently put together the body is, with the tongue's taste buds having unique spots which taste different types of food such as sweet, sour, and salty, or how each tooth has a different role to play in the breakdown of food, or even how food changes taste and texture so many times during the phase of digestion in the mouth. We do not even allow the breath to soak into the food as we eat, because we rather sacrifice the food into the pit of the acidic stomach, like we are trying to appease the angry god of the volcano with sacrifices. This is the exact same for water, as we are so chronically dehydrated due to the amount of detoxification the body has to go through. we do not even slow down and rehydrate our mouth, and allow this microbiome of the mouth and the nasal cavity through the breath to infuse into the water so that easy communication between these biomes can be held, and to help share the resources throughout the body. As since we think we are disconnected from nature, we act this way throughout our bodies. Finally, the food has begun to make its way into what we commonly refer to as the digestive system. And as this miraculous event of light, energy, matter is all communicating to be broken down and be sent throughout the body, we must break down the complexity that is condensed form, matter, to get to the essential nutrients that is energy. Even though collectively people think of digestion in this part of the body, it is still so misunderstood and backwards in the collective conscious. So zoomed in our own made-up stories of chemicals and macros, we try to simplify the miracle of biology. And so we are conditioned to believe that we just need to consume macros in a certain ratio. I want to be big and strong, so I must eat tons of protein. I do not want to be fat, so I must not eat fat. All the carbs in this donut, cake, processed foods are making me fat, ill, and tired, so carbs must be bad for the system. So caught up in conditions orchestrated by companies that are trying to make more money, we have found ourselves in a constant battle between these macronutrients, forgetting about the importance of natural law, micronutrients, and the intelligence of the body. This does not mean that the macronutrients are not important, nor does it mean the ratio is not important. But to stay open-minded and listen to the intelligence of the body is the key, as every individual is experiencing a unique lens, and so is the same of the uniqueness of how one's body will operate and interact with food. While the best tool is to silence the mind and listen to the intelligence of the body, we do have scientific tools to help aid in understanding and forming a closer relationship to the lost communication between your own body and mind. We can look at two styles of frameworks to help us understand and generalize the difference in body types when it comes to digestion. With the first framework we will be looking at is from Paul Chek and his primal pattern, emphasizing that there is no one-size-fits-all diet, where we can look at three types of body types when it comes to the macronutrient ratio you will need to eat, with the three types being polar, variable, and equatorial. As we can see that these are based off of geographical location, as our bodies will respond not only to our genetic lens, but the environment. With polar types being at the ratio of 45% protein, 20% fats, and 35% carbs, variable type being 40% protein, 10% fats, and 50% carbs, and equatorial being 70% carbs, 20% protein, and 10% fats. You can go and find out your primal pattern types through the questionnaire. And while this is a great framework, do not allow it to make you rigid. For example, based off the season and the environment, or the amount of activity and stress one has, it will change. As during the summer, I tend to lean heavy towards equatorial type, and the winter, variable, as I mainly live and grew up in Louisiana, a subtropical zone in which would fit me into a variable type region, as well as my physical genetic past of many generations of Louisiana folks and European descendants. The other framework comes from the science of yoga, Ayurveda, and this is called the 3 Doshas system. In this system, it follows 3 fundamental energies in the body, the doshas, with the 3 doshas being Vata, Pitta, and Kapha. And it is this balancing of the 3 doshas that is crucial for health. These fundamental energies is not referring to body types, but more accurately, the energetic blueprint. And so this energetic blueprint of the doshas is not separated from the other ideas of the energy body, but is actually directly associated with the elements, the dantians, and the 3 treasures of Jing, Qi, and Shen, as the doshas can be understood as the functional force that governs the physical and psychological processes of the body, as the ojas, tejas, and prana is the subtle essence it stems from, with doshas being the machinery of the system in which life force fuels. with the Kapha dosha being the elements of earth and water, and associated with the lower dantian. And so to balance this heavy and stable dosha, eating foods that help warm and stimulate the digestive fire helps, such as lightly cooked vegetables, spices, herbal teas, and warm soups, and reducing dairy, fried, oily foods, cold and raw meals, excessive sugar and sweets, and overeating, especially late at night. And so a dominant Kapha dosha should be balanced with stimulating movements and fiery activities, with the main spiritual lesson associated is non-attachment. The Pitta dosha is the element of fire and water, and is associated with the middle dantian. Dealing directly with the fire element, one should be eating cooling and hydrating foods, and avoiding overly spicy, fried, and acidic foods, with yin movements and practices being essential, and the main spiritual lesson associated is surrender. Vata dosha is the element of air and ether, as it is associated with the upper dantian. And so to ground this wind, eating warm, oily, cooked meals, and avoiding excess fasting and too much cold and raw foods, with routine and rhythmic practices to aid in this balancing, as the associated lesson for the dominant Vata is stillness. While we are trying to balance all the doshas as we are all aspects of the dantians in the avatar body, there are predominant aspects we are trying to learn about oneself, just like the elemental system or astrology. And so understanding your elements is a key way of finding out your predominant dosha, and even furthermore, these two key Ayurvedic terms of Prakriti, your natural constitution, and Vikriti, your current state of imbalance. And so we can use astrology to find the predominant dosha of your Prakriti, the natural blueprint. For example, my sun and moon sign are fire and water, making my obvious predominance being the Pitta dosha. And there are other guides and tests to find what your dominant dosha would be. But remember, all three must be balanced, as even if you get good at balancing your dominant, you can easily fall into the trap of Vikruti and imbalance in the current state, in which this science can help you help balance through holistic practices. Now, if we really look at the digestive tract in the human body, we can tell it does vary person to person, whether this is due to what you eat, your environment, or passed down genetics. We can see that on average, the human digestive tract is more close in length to other herbivores than carnivores, with the carnivore digestive tract being 2 to 4 times the body length, while humans and herbivores being 6 to 10 times the body length. Not only that, the stomach acidity in humans is moderately acidic, and when compared to carnivores and herbivores, we lean more on the herbivore traits. Even our teeth and jaw structure, we have more of a herbivore mouth, again leaning towards this herbivore style of eating. And lastly, other human traits show us to be more herbivore style, with carbohydrate digestive enzymes in our saliva, the colon being long and coiled, designed to absorb water from fibrous foods, or our sweat glands to regulate heat through sweating, like other herbivores, while most carnivores pant. While it is obvious humans are omnivores, as we have been eating both meat and plants for a long time, when it comes to health, longevity, and spiritual evolution, a plant-based diet seems to be the ideal for many. While I cannot say it is 100% for all people, as I can only speak from my experience and what others have said, we do have many evidence, not only scientifically, but throughout history. Firstly, for the meat-eating people, many of which who have never tried plant-based, swear that they cannot be healthy off strictly plant-based. Even though, if you looked at the chemical makeup of the animal meat product, the high protein takes more energy to digest, having to break down a complex structure for the amino acids, the true building blocks of protein. Not only that, most of the amino acids gained from these meat products is from the stomach microbiome of the herbivore animal you have slain. The whole notion that you cannot be healthy and strong on plant-based is such a twisted conditioning. I mean, look at some of the biggest, strongest land mammals in the world, and they are strictly herbivores. Plus, when looking at how protein is created in the body, one of the main components to start the process is glucose, sugar itself. It is commonly not understood that amino acids, the building blocks of protein, is in all foods such as fruits and veggies. And so with a wide variety of plant-based foods, one can easily get what the body needs for protein synthesis, as even the majority of the amino acids needed to build protein is already internally produced. And so oftentimes, people are also concerned with hormone issues when switching to plant-based because of other people's horror stories. But it is these people who become unhealthy because they are not fully approaching the diet holistically and through natural law. Eating fake garbage, non-nutritional food, or even not doing other aspects of the holistic and natural approach, such as movement and exercise, getting sunlight, and drinking enough water. While there are rare cases of people doing a lot of the right things and still have issues, we must look deeper and not at the single layer of the physical to see the importance of eating plant-based. As it is simply put, you are what you eat. And so when you eat dead flesh of the animals, one becomes death. When you eat life, like fresh fruit and vegetables, you become life. And so this system of energetics and karma eating is a super important concept for understanding what it means to eat healthily and align with natural law. The life force of food is super important for the chi of the body. And so the foods that are high in life force energy will then allow your chi to vibrate and grow stronger. And so accurately named life force, eating things that are dead such as animal flesh and processed foods will have no life force energy and will actually take some of the chi in your body to break it down in digestion. Meaning on the scale of prana, it would be a negatively pranic food. While freshly picked fruit and vegetables are still alive, with the more freshly picked, the more prana value. An easy way to understand this is just by looking at the water content of these things. As fruit and vegetable water content is about 85 to 95% of water, with animal flesh being 70%. While this is not a fully accurate scale, because there are exceptions like fish with higher water content, but are still negatively pranic, or potatoes and other starches that are basically zero prana. Another way about understanding the pranic system is to think about eating light, as all life on Earth is stemming from the light of the sun. And so when we look at what glucose is, it is just crystallized condensed light. And so this is why fruits full of this crystallized condensed sunlight is so high in prana. This is why being a quantum biologist and getting as much sun on your skin, especially during sunrise and sunset, is so beneficial to our bodies. As it is the mitochondria that uses the light information that is absorbed through the body to be the way in which the body creates ATP, the energy of the body. So we can see how physically and energetically plant foods can be very healthy for the individual. But what about the mental, emotional, karmic, and bliss body? The other layers of the body. When we begin to eat plant-based, it is very common for people to realize mentally the connection to life, as life is the one unifying fact between all things. And so one's sensitivity to life itself increases. From not wanting to harm other life, a great connection to unity consciousness, and a less clogged mind no longer in mental diarrhea, as the fibers of the fruits and vegetables has healed that too. And so when you begin to be this sensitive to life, then you can be this sensitive to your emotions, as any emotions fully felt is bliss, allowing one to be more blissful and becoming aware of the bliss body. Furthermore, switching to plant-based and sitting in the sun is the easiest way to awaken the Kundalini, the transformational spiritual energy in which a bioneurological upgrade can happen in the system, allowing one to hold more higher frequencies like bliss. As fueling the energy body full of prana, the Kundalini will have an easier time flowing throughout the body, allowing the creation force of Shakti to take over and evolve the system to integrate the light body of the green ray heart chakra. as one who has embodied the green ray of the heart is in perfect, unconditional, loving awareness throughout the whole body, as the prana is exploding out of the activated fourth density body. Now for the karmic body, we can easily determine how negative karma is being dealt through the killing of animals. 80 billion farm animals are slaughtered a year. That's 10 billion farm animals per person annually. And this is not even including other land animals and aquatic animals, with the majority of these farmed animals tortured their whole life. I mean, the amount of negative karma in these farming industries is just out of the roof. So no longer participating in this frees up a lot of the negative action one was dealing with. I mean, let's look at the great prophets and mystics throughout history, such as the Messiah of metaphysics, Jesus Christ, who was killed because he was anti-animal sacrificed. And then it is those same crazy people who said Jesus was the last animal sacrifice that continue to not follow the way he laid out. While there is no undeniable proof that Jesus was vegetarian, there is for his very disciples, family, and the very community he came from. And so it would not make sense to me that his brothers, his disciples, his very own community, who all saw how great he was, to not follow his example. I mean, some of these early followers of Jesus were said to be of the age of 120, like Simeon, the second head of the early Christian movement, who was leading it until he was tortured to death. I mean, even as early as Genesis, it is described what to eat, where it says we have dominion over the fish of the sea, the fowl of the air, and the cattle of the earth. And right after that, it says how we are given every herb-bearing seed and every fruit-yielding tree, which shall be for meat. So clearly showing that dominion over the animals does not mean we get to slaughter and eat them, as literally in the next sentence it says what to eat. Not the fish, not the birds, not the cattle, but the fruits. Now, it was not just the mystics of the Judaism and early Christian movements that followed natural law, but mystics across the world who have come to the same conclusion and who would live longer and brighter lives. From later Christian saints like St. Francis Assisi and Leo Tolstoy, or the Sufis like Rumi, even the Western philosophers of Pythagoras, Plato, Da Vinci, and more. Or maybe you even want a modern scientist like Nikola Tesla, who said meat was an unsuitable food for humans, or Albert Einstein, who wrote, "Nothing will benefit human health and increase the chance for survival of life on Earth as much as the evolution to a vegetarian diet." And all of the Eastern great mystics and yogis, from the Buddha, Lao Tzu, Patanjali, and other great yogis, all of these great beings on a no-meat diet. I mean, we have countless yogis living far beyond the average age. Look, it's not just the no-meat diet, with many fruitarians and breatharians breaking limited ideas of the ego and what it means to be healthy, with examples like Ray Moore, John Venus, and Dr. Robert Morse. Now, if for some reason you still think you gotta eat animal flesh, there are some great ways to get out of this karmic issue. Sourcing from great farms, people who take really good care of these animals, being part of the whole process of hunting, and really giving gratitude to the soul, spirit, and life you are taken, as there are many amazing cultures who have great practices such as these. With the human's ability of transmuting energy, this can go a long way, but this is still not equivalent to the natural laws set in motion. While for those who are going to say, "But you are killing the fruits and vegetables. You are harming the cows you milk, killing the life in the egg. The plants are suffering too." Sure, you may be killing the fruits that are designed to be picked, fall, or to spread its seeds. Or maybe you take the vegetables that are still alive after you harvest some aspect of the plant. And the cows being milked, not by machines, are actually benefiting greatly. And the chicken eggs aren't even fertilized. But sure, for the sake of understanding, another great framework is that we want to eat what is so different from our own genetic makeup. So when the intelligence of the body is communicating at a cellular level, it is our complex DNA that is rewriting upon the other cells you've eaten. You will not become a cow per se, but it's an easier and smoother process when the DNA is more simple and further from your own. This is why you can argue stuff like fish, mollusks, and crustaceans could be better than mammals. But plants are further from our genetics than them. And animals with a nervous system would have developed pain receptors, whereas plants do not. I mean, let's just look at the carnivore side. The gym bros who love their testosterone. Yet not only do the strict carnivores love to say you will look like a well-jacked 50-year-old man, this is not great for a 20-year-old, 30-year-old dude or a female. And with many of these carnivore influencers on a synthetic testosterone booster, while when you want to boost your testosterone naturally, you use plants like ashwagandha and Tongat Ali. And so do you really think that being healthy really means it is found in love or in harm? As the conditioning of the mind is strong, as a born and raised Louisiana boy myself, whose culture is all about food, and more specifically animal meats, along with my passion for sports, movement, and health, I bought into the egoic trick that you cannot be healthy without meat, actually eating a pretty heavy carnivore diet right before my switch. But not only was I surprised how easy it was to switch, but how much better I felt. From my energy levels skyrocketing, lifting more weights, running longer and faster, to a clearer mind, stubborn body fat just melting off of me, and chronic illnesses like my stomach issues and nose blindness being resolved. And even my lifelong allergies went away. And this is just the tip of the iceberg, as not only I was more blissed out, healthier, more connected to life, and mentally and emotionally clearer, my Kundalini finally fully awakened and settled, bringing me into a deeper awareness, bringing the text of the mystics and yogis straight into my awareness, with experiences such as cities like clairvoyance and channeling states, as my body was finally able to hold more energy, as I was now fueling the pranic body properly. This is not just a case for me, as many friends of mine and fellow spiritual teachers and seekers talk about how removing eating meat has not only improved their physical health, but spiritual. This all being said, with all the toxicity in the world today, allowing your diet to be in alignment helps a great deal, as the body is an excellent toxin filter, but it can only do so much. As a good rule of thumb, it can withstand 20% toxins across all aspects. And so ruling out the diet as part of the toxins by eating in accordance of natural law creates such a crazy healing effect on all planes of the body, it cannot be overstated. Do not be fooled by the trickster of the mind, which will easily twist this 20%, when in actuality, there's so much unknown toxins in the modern society that we are not privy to. And so the diet and what you consume should be an extreme conscious act. I mean, the phone in your pocket, the Wi-Fi and Bluetooth signal around you, the blue light poisoning, the airplanes over your head spraying chemicals, the microwave plugged in, the constant air and sound pollution, maybe the soap and toothpaste you use, the brush you use on your teeth that is breaking all the microplastics in your mouth, the fancy new yoga pants made out of straight chemical birth control, or the tap water filled with your neighbor's SSRIs, Ozempic, and birth control, and so much more unknown aspects poisoning the body. And so the ego likes to say a diet like this is restrictive. It is in fact a key tool to go beyond the limited perspective and to flow in alignment with life. That's it for today's video. Like, subscribe, leave any comments, questions, or topics you want me to discuss about. I'll leave a link to other resources you can find if you want to go deeper. Thanks for watching. Peace.